I'm one of those people who greatly enjoys the Sinnoh Pokemon games and have been dying to see them remade for many long years. The previous Pokemon remakes we got, the Hoenn remakes and the 3DS, were brilliant, and the Sinnoh remakes are destined to be on hardware that's leagues better than the 3DS. The potential these games have is incredible, and I am beyond excited to see what they'll look like. Pokémon, the highest grossing media franchise of all time. They got the cards, the anime, the toys, the movies, and they make video games or something. I have always loved the Pokemon games. Even during the times when I was a little kid and was god-awful at them and couldn't get past the Elite Four, man, I missed when these games had actual challenge in them. Oh well, I started playing Pokemon with Leaf Green, so Kanto is probably the most nostalgic region for me, despite me not being born in the 90s. Thank God that remakes are a thing. Otherwise, I probably would have never experienced the region, as it is incredibly hard to get me to play an OG Game Boy game. How are you meant to enjoy this? Pokemon Leaf Green was awesome, and during the time period when I was playing that game, I was also watching the original episodes of the anime, which also took place in Kanto, so it all felt connected, which was just so cool. I vividly remember having no confidence whatsoever in my first playthrough and copied literally every move from the old Louvre walkthroughs. Literally, I stole his exact Pokemon team. Even the fucking nicknames. I was a very creative kid. Still had fun though! After Leaf Green, I played one of the Hoenn games, which I also loved. I believe I played Sapphire. And after Hoenn, I played one of the Sinnoh games, Pokémon Diamond. And then Platinum a few years later. These games were great. I loved them, despite the fact that I don't think I ever made it past Elite Four during my original playthroughs when I was a kiddo because, Cynthia. But I actually replayed Diamond a few years ago and beat it, so yeah, I guess I can't say I have beaten it. Now, I have always loved the snowy, mountainous Sinnoh region. It always gave me a bit of an eerie vibe without trying to force it too hard. No other region has ever really done so in my opinion. Also, a lot of people hated the slow health bar, but I felt it made everything feel really dramatic. Like, is this hit going to make him faint? The uncertainty you felt? I don't know, this could be the nostalgia goggles talking here, but I thought it was pretty cool. In hindsight. Probably nostalgia goggles talking here. To be completely honest, I love all these early Pokemon regions equally. Maybe Johto would be an exception because it's Johto. Not saying the Johto games are bad though, they're also great, but Johto is just an extension of Kanto pretty much. They don't even have their own Pokemon League over there with a bunch of fucking cheapskates. Pokemon remakes. They are a thing, they're inevitable. The three we've gotten so far are the Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn remakes. And each of them were great. Fire Red and Leaf Green remade Kanto with more than bearable visuals this time, and it did a great job. Fantastic games. Heart Gold and Soul Silver were absolutely brilliant. I feel like this is where the sprite art style peaked. I'm sorry, but I feel like Black and White tried too hard. And then the Hoenn remakes, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Wow, I'm positive these are the Pokemon games I've dumped the most amount of hours into. They were great. The visuals, the redesigned areas like Mauville City, flying around with the Eon Flute, the amount of content present in these, amazing games. I even bought a second Alpha Sapphire at one point to experience the game again on a fresh save file. Man, these games are what I call quality remakes. Unless, of course, you're IGN and the region having water ruins the experience for you. And about Heart Gold and Soul Silver again, they were great remakes. But there's no denying that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire won up these games in many different areas. But either way, all the Pokemon remakes turned out amazing. And after the Hoenn remakes, we all knew what was coming. Just a matter of time. Each Pokemon remake waits for the next portable hardware leap that Nintendo pushes out. 2017 gave us the Switch, and oh man! At the time, the Switch was way better hardware than I'd ever expect from Nintendo. I already had high expectations for these remakes, but then knowing the Diamond and Pearl remakes were going to end up on this system raised my expectations even higher. The 3DS, which Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire released on, is roughly powerful enough to run GameCube-ish type games. Kinda. The Switch, however, was a huge leap from the 3DS. It's about just as powerful as the Wii U, which was the current Nintendo home console during the 3DS era. But unlike the 3DS, the Switch wasn't just going to be Nintendo's new handheld system. It was going to be a hybrid system that would replace both the Wii U and 3DS. Initially, they didn't want to admit 3DS, but it was going to replace the 3DS. The majority of the games released here were going to be full-price $60 home console games. Home console. The Switch is a home console. And with a home console comes home console quality games. And with a good home console comes home console quality games. My expectations for these Diamond and Pearl remakes were through the roof. Bad idea looking back on it. Sword and Shield did not look as bad as people made them out to be, but seeing how they looked did dip my expectations a little bit. But of course, Diamond and Pearl are obviously a lot simpler than Sword and Shield, so of course, I was still very hopeful these would end up being awesome remakes. Late February of this year, 2021. The premiere of a Pokemon Presents presentation presented. We all knew the Diamond and Pearl remakes were going to be revealed here. I mean, they just had to be. It's around that time. It's been almost 7 years since the release of the Hoenn remake, so what else could they possibly be announcing? Starts off with a very long intro. Yeah, I guess this kind of builds up the hype a little bit, but goddamn, this shit was annoying to just saying words. More stuff about the new Pokemon Snap game. It looks pretty nice, I guess. I personally never saw the appeal of the OG game. I'm not really into the taking virtual pictures genre of games, but if you're into that sort of thing, yeah, I guess this game does look pretty cool. Pokemon Cafe Mix. I'm sure the 5 people interested in this were very excited, and some stuff about that game we all played for a month in 2016. Oh my god, we're going back in time. A DS with one of the OG Sinnoh games being played. Okay, yeah, this is it. Oh man, experience the brilliance once more. Holy shit. What the fuck? I recorded my actual reaction to this. First time I've ever done something like that, by the way, because I thought I was gonna be so hyped, I thought it was gonna be crazy, but, well... It's happening. It's happening. It's fucking happening. It's fucking happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's fucking happening. Alright. Holy shit. What? What? No! No! What the fuck is this? What? It looks like shit. How is this possible? It looks worse than Let's Go, which was supposed to be a simple little Pokemon game for casual Pokemon Go fans. It looks like a mobile game. What the fuck is going on here? Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Okay, the logos look alright. The names are kind of weird though. Shining Pearl works, I guess. But what the fuck is a Brilliant Diamond? Also, unlike the acronym for the games, looks a bit too close to something else. Ready for the answer as to why these games don't look so great? At the end of the trailer, in small text at the bottom, we see Game Freak outsourced the entire project. Some of the most anticipated Pokemon games of this generation aren't even being made by Game Freak. Fucking great. ILCA. I never heard of this company before this, and that's usually not a good sign. Alright, let's take a quick step back here and talk about what looks wrong. So first off, you might think this is small and nitpicky, but in my opinion, it looks awful. Look at this animation where Lucas just slides in and stops. You're fucking kidding me, right? Here's how Let's Go did this, by the way, for reference. Nice and smooth. Eases in. I'm just very confused by this, because it's such a simple thing they chose not to implement. What they have going for them right now looks god-awful. Speaking of god-awful, the lighting in most cases is god-awful. What is going on with Barry's face here? And of course, the obvious. Why does everyone look like little babies? This cute little chibi style they're going for here, I'm not really a fan of whatsoever. It comes across as kinda cheap. Now this style can be executed correctly, just look at Link's Awakening. The lighting here is nice, everything looks like plastic toys, which makes a lot of sense because that's what the chibi style resembles. But unlike Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it works in Link's Awakening because you don't ever see the characters at their normal size. I'm sorry, it looks incredibly goofy seeing this little baby model enter a battle and then suddenly becomes the size of an actual human, like what? The common defense I see for this chibi style is, well, this is how the DS games looked, isn't that what you wanted? No, it's not! The DS games looked that way because of hardware limitations, and it came across a lot more natural considering it was all sprites and pixel art. I guarantee, if they were capable of making a big game with normal-sized 3D models on a handheld at the time of making the OG Diamond and Pearl, they would have done that. This defense is incredibly silly to me. Also, there's the excuse that they're trying to be extra faithful. If that were true, they would also be faithful to the price tag of the original games. $60, by the way. Remember when mobile games used to be free? If I had to say any positives, just from seeing this trailer alone, 2 shots look alright in terms of lighting. The lake you visit in the early game and that part where Dawn is in Valley Wind works. That's all I got. At this point, we know what the box arts for the games are going to look like. So they took the logo, put a render behind it, and spammed overlay effects in Photoshop. Someone out there was probably paid a shit ton of money to make this. Also, at the time this trailer dropped, we knew the games were going to come out this year. But now we have the actual release dates. November 19th. That doesn't sound good. That's quite close. I am very doubtful anything will be fixed. Oh well. Look, I'm not gonna lie here and pretend I love how these games are looking, because I don't. I have been anticipating these remakes for the longest time, and it looks like they're going to completely mess up the opportunity to make them good. It is pretty hard to be optimistic here. It just seems like they're going to be cheap Diamond and Pearl clones, but without the difficulty of the original games. An artist by the alias Millennium Loops created a fake game trailer of their take on the Sinnoh remakes. Come the fuck on, man. This is actually making me depressed. One person made this shit, and it looks leagues better than what we're actually getting. Just brilliant. No pun intended. Why did they outsource this? Why did they outsource such anticipated games? There is a simple answer. they didn't want to make them. Immediately after the reveal of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, another game was revealed. Pokémon Legends Arceus. I've always said Arceus, so I'm gonna keep saying Arceus. This is the game they actually want to make. It's obvious. My god, this actually looks good. This actually looks like a step in the right direction for Pokémon. It's not Diamond and Pearl, but it is about an old story that also takes place in the Sinnoh region, long before the events of Diamond and Pearl. Well, if the Diamond and Pearl remakes aren't good, well, hopefully this game will be. Of course, we don't have the Sinnoh remakes yet. We only saw one trailer, yeah. But that one trailer says a lot, and I'm not feeling very optimistic about these games. At the very least, please include all the extra stuff Platinum had. It is the least they could do, seriously. Well, my expectations plummeted like the price of a shitty cryptocurrency, and my disappointment is immeasurable. Moral of the story, don't have high expectations because you'll feel like shit when nothing meets it. Unless, of course, you're a shitty clickbait Nintendo YouTuber who makes a 10-minute video anytime a Nintendo employee moves one of their limbs. Guys, there's no way!